Now that the wiring is complete on our F100, we need some way to tell those backup lights when to come on. And with this 700R4, it doesn't have an internal switch. I ordered this Lokar BL-1400U. This is a switch I think Summit and Jegs and everyone sells that carries Lokar products. And it can be either for a backup light switch or park and neutral. So you can run it to your starter wire and it functions as a neutral safety switch. I'm assuming we're gonna have to do some modifications to make this work, since we have like the shift cable and everything right down there in the same place. But the good thing about having a welder, you can make about anything. So these are the parts that come in the kit. You have a couple of different mounting bolts. The metric bolts are for the 700R4, 200R4, and 4L60. SAE bolts are for the Turbo 350 and Turbo 400. I went over this in a video a year or so ago. The easiest way to tell a metric from SAE bolt is you'll have like a 10.9 or 8.8 or something like that on a metric bolt, and you'll have these hash marks on an SAE bolt, just for a quick reference. Now this bracket is one that has the double trigger, which will make contact with our switch in park and in neutral, and that's what you'd run to your starter wire interrupt. And then for reverse only, you'd run this single tab trigger, which only makes contact to this ball valve or ball switch when it's in reverse. Now the idea is it'll complete this circuit when the ball is compressed into this socket. And we'll go ahead and test this before we install it, like we normally do, just for posterity. So yeah, that works. And it doesn't require just a very little contact for it to complete the switch. So we don't have to worry about a lot of pressure on that, which eventually could cause problems with this wanting to rotate on the bolt. And we already have a bracket here for our shift linkage. It's going to share the same bolts as our backup light switch bracket. The question is, do we install this above or below? I think we'll try above it, which means spacers are going to have to be on top. And this is not easy to get into. Now we got this mocked up, we can install our little bracket. That's good contact. We can tighten our brackets. One thing I have a concern about is this shift linkage making contact with this reverse bracket. Whoops. It looks like in some of the lower gears, this may make contact here. We may have to take that off and cut it off. All right. There's park, reverse, neutral, drive, two. Yeah. Looks like that's going to prevent us from going into a lower range. It's not the end of the world to just cut that off while we're here and just keep doing everything correct. We will have to adjust this again, but it's not the end of the world. That's building trucks, I guess. This bracket was galvanized originally, so now that we've ground on it and cut a piece off, it really needs to have a little bit of paint sprayed on there. So we're doing that and letting that cure while we're building our little wiring harness. We need to tap into the wire we ran to the backup lights along the chassis and run it over to our switch. Then all that'll be left is hooking up power to that at the fuse box. And we should be ready to go. All right, we're going to check this adjustment, see how we did shooting from the hip. And that's reverse. Actually, we did pretty good. We just need to slide this sensor bracket forward just a little, and that'll put us right where we need to be. Ooh, that's a little too much. That should be perfect. Now let's verify we don't make contact with our linkage arm into this bracket when we go into our lower gears. Yeah, looks like we're clear. Alright, now we just need to put in our cotter pin to our shift linkage. Just want to double check our leads in reverse, make sure we have continuity here, and then we'll wire them in. Survey said, #1 answer. Another selling point to using this split loom is just being able to tap into it when you need to, like this example. And that's the wire we ran for the reverse light, so I just cut into it. Then put these crimp and seal connectors in line from our switch. Now I'm going to wrap this in hockey tape and get it tucked in this loom again so everything stays nice and secure. Then we'll work on the inside. That turned out real nice. Now all we have left is to determine how we want to send power to that reverse switch. Most reverse lights have power all the time regardless of the key position. If it's really unnecessary, you could have it just under the run position. The Speedway harness has kind of this pre-made power output connector, and you just put female spaded connectors into it, and some of them are hot all the time. And we've got a perfect opportunity. This is the fuel pump output from the fuse box, and it's only hot while the ignition is in the run and crank position. So that should give us exactly what we need, and we're not going to use it for our fuel pump anyway because the Holley takes care of that. All right. Alright, that snaps in place really nice, and that female connector actually comes with that wiring harness kit, so you don't really need anything on your own. It comes with just what we need. Now this ought to slide together. Now you've got yourself essentially a factory connection, and we can remove this anytime and insert more power feeds from this if we need to. So our moment of truth. Now that's in place. I'm going to turn the key on. Success. Let's double check and make sure they don't stay on all the time while we're doing this. Yeah, they're off. Overall, I'm really satisfied with that Lokar kit. I mean, it fits almost any generation of GM transmissions up until they were computer controlled. Pretty self-explanatory, had nice instructions with really big, well laid out diagrams. And unfortunately, that's kind of rare. You know, like always, if you have any questions, put it down in the comments below. I read all the comments, all 2 or 3 per video. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next week.